Somebody got Turk now.
Turk died over in Conway a couple years ago.
Watch your language, you know, kids might be watching this.
But there was
think
some
they've heard that
people from
before.
Mullins that started this thing, and y'all never heard of him. Herbert Martin.
Yeah, very well.
Martin's drugstore, and he lived in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, down, he moved to the south end in the,
Yeah,
in
and
the 70s.
Herbert Martin was one of the first guys that ever
Good
wore
looking.
tailor-made.
He was good looking.
Good-looking guy.
Yeah.
I got a picture here, I'm gonna pass it around, talking about Turkville.
Yeah.
This was taken in 1961 in Turk's Lounge, out here where the
Yeah, I
old
know.
building's still there.
Yeah.
It's Wango Tango or something now.
Turk
Well,
ran,
that's
Turk ran the Bowery at Myrtle Beach.
And then Turk ran, that property still belongs to the Waller family.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny's
Matter
daddy.
of fact, for years, and I looked all over the place, but by the way, my name's Murray Elliott, for y'all that don't know me, I'm from Rock Hill, I'll say, I was actually born in Kingstree, South Carolina, but I grew up, my family from Rock Hill. And, I had people down there, so I started my career at the beach as a kid. The way I got interested, I was a lifeguard, drove and everybody, and I actually ended up owning the beach service. So I worked on the beach through the 60s, 70s, and half the 80s. I sold the beach service in '85. And, but
You had
anyway,
beach
this-
service up here on the north end?
yeah.
It's the same one that Lad had, when Harry driving on.
I had the beach service every afternoon when I'd get off the beach. I'd go to Donnie's and drink a few beers and everything, and a lot of the lifeguards would too. And we came in there one day, and just so happened, I don't know if y'all remember Mark Saunders, he used to live down here.
Yeah.
You remember
He
Mark?
was an artist. He did some
Yeah.
work, yeah. He's good too. He
Yeah.
moved to Charleston.
Yeah, he was an artist, and he bartended in a lot of places, and
He worked for, what's his name? He used to be our congressman, Talon.
well, Mark was bartending for Donnie. This was when Donnie had it during the 70s. It just so happened, when this happened, it was when the Summer Olympics was going on. But we came in there one afternoon, there was a bunch of bartenders from the Galleon in there.
I remember,
A fight ensued.
remember Irish Minutes?
I'd go to the bathroom when I came back, there was a fight going on, kind of between lifeguards and
Stuck on stand.
bartenders from the Galleon. I don't know who was that day, 10 or not.
Sam worked for
But anyway, I stepped in to say something, and I caught a key stick upside the head, which I'm still wearing some scars from that afternoon. Never go bald headed, I'm gonna have to get me a wig because I got so many scars on my head. But anyway, Mark was real smart. I mean, he could just come up with the dirtiest things. But the next day, when everybody showed up at Donnie's, there was these posters all over the wall that Mark had wrote. And it said, the following Olympic events will be eliminated from these premises. He said, Murray Elliott, hop, skip, jump, and duck, the 40-yard key stick smash, and this boy that used to work on the beach, he was kind of like my head lifeguard for a long time. His name was Bill Hall, but everybody called him T-Bone. And one of this was to T-Bone talk trash to Dash, because when the fight broke out, T-Bone disappeared, it was all over, and there he was. But Mark was real.
I have to keep Murray under control. I've been doing that since he was about 12 years old. My name's Gene Jacobs. A lot of my friends call me Suntan. I got that out selling suntan a whole lot there on that beach. Well, actually, that name came from a rock. Every time I come up, I'd be smiling. He called me Sunshine. But people thought they meant suntan because I sold to the suntan. It turned into suntan. I just let it go. I didn't care as long as you couldn't look at the phone book anyway, what you call me. But I was born over in Dillon. My mother was from there. And
Pat Hayes, did you know Pat?
well, I moved away from there when I was about 5. We moved to Rock Hill. That's how I know Murray. But my my aunt was a coach, and they had a tobacco farm over there, and she had to ask one day, she had a little house on the waterfront down here, just right on the other side of the pavilion, about a block or two. So that was my introduction to the beach area when I was, 8 or 9 years old. As I say, I knew Murray, and I watched Bobby Cudd and JoJo and those people, because they were my mentors, and Murray and them, they came up behind us about 3 years, so I imagine we're all about that
Wait till
level.
you get to the one next to you, he could tell you where it started.
Well, I was born in '39, so I was down here,
Look, we were before that.
well, there was a lot of people before that, there ain't a lot of them still alive though.
Y'all talk about the second or third era.
Come on, Eddie, it's your turn.
Got my second or third era.
Eddie Monsoon.
There's actually no way of determining who was here first, you know what I mean? It's like the apes or whatever. But we were here a long time ago. But we followed a group of people like Dick Webb and Chick Hendricks and Buck Holt and all these guys. We were the generation right after them. But then again, you have to understand, we were only in our teens, like 15 and 16 and 17. These guys were 20 and 25, and they didn't look on us as anything. I mean, we were like pebbles on the beach. They didn't give us the time of day. I want you to know that. They had their own thing going.
I want to clear up something right now. I was having a discussion with Smith.
David Smith.
David, we were talking about the pavilion over here at one time. Now, I know I had to be either a sophomore or a freshman in high school. But I was down here staying with my aunt and everything, and there was 2 dance floors over there at the pavilion.
You talking about where H. Lee?
Yeah, there was 2. There was one up front that kind of protruded out there, where all the good dancers danced, and then there was one over down there near the bathhouse that had another one there with a jukebox.
Cement floor.
What
right.
year?
What year?
I thought it was about 54 or 55.
54 was Hazel.
It was in the late 40s.
But anyway,
I never seen it outside.
they would make, I was up there dancing at the big dance floor, and Maurice Treadway and Sonny Small was a good friend of mine, came and got me and said, you gotta go down here to this little dance floor with the learners. And I don't know why Sonny Small said that, because he couldn't dance a lick. But, I went down, the greatest thing that ever happened to me is later on in the summer, him and Maurice came back down there. I was down there dancing with everybody I could, and said, come on with us. And they had a big old mason jar full of something. It was white lightning. They gave me a drink and said, you can dance at the big dance floor now. Oh, I've never been so happy in my entire life.
Hey, let me tell you a story about Maurice Treadway. He's from the same town that Jim is.
Yeah, I
He's
know.
from Mother. And when he was little, they called him Poochie. Poochie. And when the law got after him, he would jump into a trash can and pull the lid over him and never could find it.
He married his first wife. Somebody went to high school with maybe a little bit behind me, but her daddy cut my hair.
Maurice lived here for a long
Yeah, I know.
time.
I saw him up there. I met his son.
Stayed up in Charlotte more than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Well, we were rather clannish when we were down here, and they said that the dance started on the beach. But hell, I was dancing back home in the community center before I even came down to the beach. Yet we congregated at places like Carolina Beach. They wouldn't let me up to Bob City because I was too young, but people like Dick and Ed Tyndall and those other guys that were going up to Bob City told me how wonderful it was. I said, well, one day I'll grow up and be like that. But anyway, I was at a USO dance when this lady I was watching by the name of Clarice Rivers, we called the Queen of Shag, and I was 14 years old, and it was like in the middle 40s there somewhere, and I was mesmerized by her, and she knew I was too. After she had taken the floor with one of these guys that she was dancing with, she walked over to me, and she said, you want to dance with me, honey?
Oh, man.
And she put her hand out like that. I said, yes, ma'am. And the day I touched her hand, my life changed forever. From then on, I had that Shag feeling in my heart because she was one of the best dancers, feel-wise. I mean, she didn't do a lot of gigantic hot dog steps, but she had the feel in her hand. And every male dancer that's ever danced with her will tell you the same thing. she could feel you. She would make sure you felt it at the same time. So those were the days I enjoyed and I remembered intensely. I went with my wife, of course, in those days. And of course, oh, you don't want to talk about that part? Okay,
Don't forget your days at White Lake.
that's right. In White Lake, Clarice had his cottage. There were so many places that we congregated. I can tell you the times we went to these dances that we were probably the only Caucasians there. And yet we would sit in the middle of the floor, and Clarice and Harry Driver would take these floors, and we would just wipe them out.
Now, Harry was a class act.
Harry, you have to consider whether you liked Harry's style or his personality or whatever. He was the lord of our dance. I don't give a damn what you say. When Harry got on the floor, he took the floor. He was intimidating to everybody. You just didn't dare go on the floor when Harry Driver was dancing. He just took it. It's automatic. But anyway, we entered a contest, he and I and two other couples, at Myrtle Beach. It was a Sun Fun Festival. It was the first one I think they had. And there were 4 couples. We danced on the beach. Harry came in first, and I came in second. And I think it was because he had prettier legs than I had. Because we both had bathing suits on, and we were dancing on the beach with this music playing out of a damn portable.
Well, that was unusual to get Harry to dance in the daytime.
I know it, that's right.
He didn't do that much.
Well, there's a picture of him here when we used to work for Ladd, right here on the beach service. So we used to hang around with Harry. But anyway, when we won the $10 for the prize, Harry we didn't know who we were dancing with, but he said, Eddie, we want to keep this as a memorabilia, memories. So he tore the $10 in half. He said, you keep this half and I'll keep the other half as memories. And the girls agreed with it. We have some kind of memory. Well, after we got rid of the girls, it wasn't 10 minutes before Harry was looking me up trying to put that $10 back together. So we could go get us some Pabst Blue Ribbon. That was it. Huh? Those were some good times.
Let me tell you a story about Harry, though. I was in Charlotte one time, and the club over there, Wicker, was running. It turned into, it was the topless place later on.
Kidnappers.
Yeah, and I was standing out front. I smoked back then. I had a cigarette standing out front, and I saw this white limousine pull up.
You sure it's a cigarette you
Yeah, well, white limousine pulled up, and I looked at somebody. I said, "Can't be anybody but Harry Driver." And sure enough, on the door, it was him. He'd been on a wedding. He came out in a white limousine.
Ed, did you spend much time in Carolina Beach?
Not much. I was on the boardwalk while y'all were at Bob City, so they would let me upstairs. I was too young. They served beer up there in those days. But I danced at the little hangouts down on the boardwalk with
Sugar Bowl 1, Sugar Bowl 2?
whatever they were named. They had one jukebox with some, what do you call it, beaver board or something on the floor.
The roof was across from the Ocean Plaza.
Yeah.
The Ocean Plaza dance floor was upstairs, and the roof had a pool room down below and a dance floor where Jimmy Cavallo played.
I know.
A lot down
He's
there.
still living in Florida?
Yes, he's in,
And Harry did dance in the daytime.
he did once in a
Oh,
while.
yeah.
Not much.
At Carolina Beach he did.
Oh, well.
You know,
But I gotta
Harry
explain
had,
it. I'm sorry.
Harry organized the very first shag contest here.
Yeah.
One Sunday afternoon, I'd gotten off the beach and went in Fat Jack's.
Is that the
It was
one we
next
did
door.
in Fat Jack's for $30?
Well, here, what am I saying? I'm sitting on Fat Jack's.
Yeah.
again.
Right on
And,
the
me and Bob Barnhill, who managed Fat Jack's, Don Kelly, who owned it, and Don was sitting there talking, and they did, and Tan, and there'd already been some shag contests up around Carolina Beach and all that. But you know, during the 70s, you know, the shag just petered out.
Oh, it was disco.
Everybody was getting funky in the 70s, and but anyway, I'm sure a lot of y'all remember Smiley Foster.
Yeah.
Smiley come walking by. He was just down for a weekend, and he told Don, he said, y'all need to get a shag contest going down here. So me and Tan and Barnhill and Don Kelly went in the office
Yep.
and called Harry Driver.
Well, we actually had one that day. Bob gave $25. I gave 2 bottles of suntan oil. Pete gave 2 dinners at Pete's Porch. Remember Pete's Porch was over there? And we just, and Donnie was there. And we just set up a table. There's a bunch of people from Wrightsville Beach and that area was up here that day. And we just had an impromptu dance contest. And but this was, then we
Big-
started talking
very
about
first
it.
big one.
Big one, yeah.
The very first big one lasted about
The very
12 hours.
first big one, I was a judge, Joanne was a judge, Suntan was a judge, Eddie Page was a judge, Doug Perry was a judge.
And the next one I danced in, because there was
Yeah,
32
and,
couples.
Shad was a judge, I think Wanda danced in the first one probably, and Norman, and, but anyway, we got organized and then it just kind of took off. Matter of fact, one year, Barneo had a Labor Day shag contest at Fat Jack's, turned right around, and just so happened that year, the very following weekend was SOS, and he had another one, SOS weekend. Two shag contests back to back.
Well, as I was trying to get Eddie to start, you know, this is all in the 70s. We all go back way before that,
Before Hazen?
way before
Oh,
Hazel. And like the first time I saw Clarice dance was at the Spivey's.
Yeah.
Down the south end of Myrtle Beach, which was
40
washed away during
I
Hazel
started
too.
going there one time. got
But
bored.
anyway, across the squash was the old beach club too, remember? And we could walk, your feet would be burning anyway from dancing, so you would walk across the water. And I mean, Eddie knows all that, he was down here. And then that's how I met Eddie, was on the beach when I was probably,
Did I try to make a play for you? I can't remember.
I don't know, I was too young.
Spivey's was on down there past Spring Bay
Yeah,
Beach.
but that's the way we all went. Next, we go to the Pavilion first. Now, I've got some pictures in the car, and we'll get somebody to go get them in a minute.
That was the pad.
But we
y'all.
had the pictures of a lot of our old friends who I mentioned Eddie earlier.
But you gotta
At the
understand.
flagpole, and the tourists would actually give us a nickel and play the music. And then if we put on a good show for them, they'd give us a quarter. And that played 6 songs. And we would dance. 6 songs for a quarter, and we would dance there. And I've got pictures of all, you got to remember, we didn't have a camera, so we were lucky. I don't know whose camera that was I used that day, but who had the money for a camera?
Y'all was stepping on me, trying to get in there.
But I gotta explain this to you. This is a
Yeah,
good
it's good.
opportunity for me to tell you guys one important fact. There was Ocean Drive and there was Myrtle Beach.
No, they can get
But,
stuck at
okay,
night.
no. In 1950, they used to come down to the beaches on Easter and leave on Labor Day. You could roll a bowling ball down Highway 17 and you wouldn't hit anybody. for 40 miles. I mean, it was completely dead after Labor Day. Am I right, Jack?
It wasn't all of it, wasn't even paid.
Well, I'm
Let me
serious.
tell you something.
There wasn't well, you know too,
We're gonna fight the alligators.
Berkeley, I'm trying to.
Berkeley?
I'm trying to get other names in my head at the same time. When you left Myrtle Beach, there wouldn't be a light all the way to Ocean
No.
Drive. And when you went to the pavilion where H. Lee is in the back, there was a light bulb hanging over that cement slab with one jukebox. But we could come here on Sunday. We were very clannish. There was a Myrtle Beach crowd and there was an Ocean Drive crowd. We did not mix during the week at all. We didn't have to come down.
Hey, and we didn't like y'all.
That's right. They didn't like us.
We didn't like
them.
y'all.
That's the
Eddie,
truth.
remember why?
Did we, Beaver?
That's
We
right.
didn't like them, did we?
Remember what happened and why? Because in Myrtle Beach, they had blue laws, and they put those
Yeah.
boxes in a box,
Yep.
and they locked them
They
up.
locked
at
them
12
up.
o'clock.
Well, that
And we
ain't
didn't
all.
like that, so
Let
we
me
came.
tell you something.
Bill,
If they caught a
Bert
beach
Merriam, Big Bert Merriam had a black hearse with held about 18
was a
of us.
36
And we'd go up to Ocean Drive, OD,
Packard.
there. And back that time, the early 40s, they were in the jail in OD. There was a tree with a chain around it, and if you get caught up
That's
usually for
right.
They
vagrancy,
did, that was the jail, y'all,
they
seriously.
put you down there and wait till you sobered up, and then they
David
say,
Smith and
two
them were
things,
locked there,
guys,
too.
you either go in jail or you go home to your mother. And they're out bumming back to wherever they came from.
Yes, sir.
If you were caught at Ocean Drive on September the 5th, one of the farmers would get a sheep shears and cut that long hair
Don't
off.
tell all.
Charlie Lookabill, who
You
was the
had to
first
leave.
person I ever danced with at the beach in Myrtle Beach, later was a lifeguard and several things up at OD. And one of the things that you knew that they, in fact, in his resume for Legends, he wrote to me, he says, he wrote, what he was doing each year, and then he said, and on this particular day, he was working with the cleanup crew, which was the garbage crew, every Thursday. So if you did something, that was your work detail, you were, so if you did that, you knew you were in the in crowd.
We all have personal stories that go along with this, and we could go on forever. My wife is saying, keep my mouth shut. But I gotta tell you two things real quick so I can get it off my chest. Because it worries me when these young kids right now, I can see them dancing, and they'll take their hand and they'll do like that. And it's become a step. See, now, it became a step long before I had everybody did it.
Larry Blake, they do it all the time.
What they were doing in our day, we used to wear peg pants. They used to have a 14 bottom and a 32 knee.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any socks on like you see right here, and our pants would slip in behind the loafers. So what we would do while we were dancing, we would pull them out of the loafers like that. Now it's an official damn step. All the kids are doing it, and say, look at me, I'm doing it.
That's exactly
I bet you
right.
none of them know where it came from. because
Upside down flaps on the pockets,
That's
well
right, the
seen
tongue
down.
loops and everything else. We had the wide seam going down the side.
Don't forget the ducktails.
Don't forget, y'all borrowed each other's too.
We brought each other's underwear. Whoever had clean underwear to go out on a date would wear the clean underwear. And that's what we were.
I'm Vera Williams, born and raised in Florence, and been down here, oh gosh, I guess the first time I came I was about 7 years old. Never went to Myrtle Beach rarely, because we stayed at OD all the time. And talking about Pavilion, had the dance floor up front, even further than it is now, and had that little place on the side where with a C-net where you dance. And had bingo inside. Leon Williams called bingo. I don't know if y'all remember Leon Williams. And, can't remember all these names.
He's our poster boy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Him and
And Billy Jeffers
Billy
and all
Jeffers.
that crowd. I'm probably dating myself, but I just have to tell you, Ann Putnam goes right with me. But let me tell you about Dick Webb. Dick Webb and Buck Hawkham. They would come here on Sunday night, and they were the two best looking boys.
And Bud Holcomb and Dick.
Yeah, all the girls would go goggle-eyed.
You hear that, baby Kay?
She's heard it. Yeah,
John
she's-
Baker, remember John?
Oh, and John Leroy Baker.
John Leroy.
But he wasn't here all the time then, yeah. That was later.
That was a little later, yeah. But it's nothing like growing up in Ocean Drive and Florence. We're talking about learning to dance. We've danced in Florence. We always said the best
Sure.
dancers came from Florence.
And Columbia.
We had
And
a
Greenville.
jukebox.
And
We had a
the
jukebox.
small towns, the small towns
We
like
had a
the
jukebox
Bentonville.
in the gym at school, so at recess we could all dance. And Billy Jeffers had the teenage canteen that we went to every night. So it was a lot of fun growing up, a lot of memories, a lot of good memories.
Well, Columbia
Vera
was
was a
fun.
dancing queen at Myrtle Beach and Ocean Drive.
She toured the Eastern Seaboard, Dick. She toured the whole Eastern Seaboard, going up and down.
Do you remember back then they liked to wear those real short shorts?
Oh, yeah.
I like them to wear lace.
With a tiny bit of lace showing out
Yeah,
there.
short underwear,
I
stand
still got my
mesmerized.
navy blue
I
shorts.
Still got mine.
Can't wear them.
I can't get it, Mike. Can you get
And
it?
ballerina shoes if you
I
want.
still have mine up, but I
Wear
can't
them out
get
in one
them
night.
on my
You
leg.
gotta put adhesive tape
Oh,
on.
tell me about it. Put cardboard in them so you
That's
wouldn't
exactly right. I did
But you know, a
that.
lot of people had to step in Myrtle Beach because that's the only place you could get a job.
That's
It
right.
wasn't much work, and the worst nightmare was for me to come down here. I had friends on both beaches, I never had any trouble going back and forth. But if you ever got, you stick close to whoever you rode with. Because if you got
Whoever
stuck,
whoever
that was
got
the loneliest road in the world,
One
not
car
a
a
street
night.
light anywhere. I walked all the way back before it back, all the way back.
That always amazes me, when I'm up in the restaurant row area. The old shrine building up there, you know, was the original beach club.
From the Corbett boys.
And, yeah, and I can remember, and I'm sure everybody in here again, now when you went to the beach club, it was like going out of town. I mean, there wasn't nothing between here and the
Your
beach
car
club.
could get stuck over there parking to go in.
Anybody remember old Black Cat that was up here on Main
Oh,
Street?
yeah, sure.
Now,
I
when
don't
you get in there
remember
on Saturday night, when they had to quit selling beer at 12 o'clock, and invariably, they keep selling beer in there, and invariably, because a lot of the bad ones ended up in there with Charlie Porter and Marlins.
Well, he was
and all-
good.
And all, well, he was good, but good one to stand behind when the fight started.
Yeah.
That's what I did that night. This buddy, I said, where we going? I said, I'm getting behind Charlie. I don't know where you going.
An interesting thing though about those guys, and they were called badasses.
Oh,
And
but
you
they-
know, all of you know what I'm talking
Ronnie
about.
Treadway, Maurice, and Charlie Porter.
Around me, now you gotta understand that I came to the beach when I was 15 years old, 2 weeks later turned 60 and had a job down at the beach. Because we all thought that would be the thing to do there. But anyway, I was down there with a halo on my head, if you understand what I'm talking about. And those guys, to this day, they're my big brothers. They would take care of us when we got in
Oh,
a
yeah.
situation. And you didn't mess with those girls. Until this day, that's 60 years later, we've still got that kind of relationship.
This lady's name is Janet Morris. She used to work at the 8th Avenue Grill in Myrtle Beach and used to feed us when we didn't have any money off of her tip money.
And
That's
I'm
what
still
she used
keeping
to
them
do.
healthy with health products. I'm a nurse.
I worked one summer over there.
Eddie, in the summer of 1948, Janet stood me up
No, she didn't.
at the old Pavilion.
No wonder you're mad at her still.
I had a date with her, and I said, meet me at the Pavilion about 8 o'clock. I said, you'll be off then, and I will too. So we went over and waited, and she never showed up. So I walked around a little while and came back, and she was in the arms of Jerry.
Uh-huh.
Slow dancing, everybody else was jitterbug.
Now, if you want the real story on that, this
I'd like to go
happened
back
2 years
some.
later. It was in Charlotte at the women's club, and it was a blind date, and he was supposed to pick me up, and he got drunk, forgot about it, and somebody called my mother calls Jerry, and Jerry came and got me. Jerry can't dance.
Jerry sat beside me in high school for 3 years. Her husband is.
That's right. And Jerry went to, with Betty Ziegler in the first grade. That was his first real love, is Betty Ziegler.
Jack, let me hear what you got to say, son. You one of my...
It's not to me.
I got something to say about Jack.
Let me hear it. I want to write this down. I want this a testimony.
All right, just tell them your name, Mimi.
I'm Mimi
Benedict.
Sassy Marsburn Benedict.
Good for you.
Mimi, and you and I and Chick Hedrick are the only ones that I know of that are still living that work at Carolina Beach.
I think so. And he keeps telling me that I'm much older than he is, and that's true. But I got a motto.
Oh, Lord.
If I can get it out, I got my motto. It says, might be dragging, but I'm still shagging.
All right.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mimi.
I go way back.
She went all over.
Like Keith Jack said. Jack used to feed me and,
Yeah.
at Carolina Beach. He worked, what did I
Patterson
eat?
French fries.
I had French fries. And I didn't have anything to eat. I'd be dancing all day and nowhere to go. And no place to eat till my uncle picked me up after work. But anyway, it was wonderful. I loved it. And he would feed me, and every time I go in, his boss wasn't looking, I'd get a handful of French fries.
I knew you-
Mimi
I knew.
danced because she had Betty Grable legs, and she wore those tight shorts too.
Yeah.
You love them high shorts, don't you, Dick?
And she still has them. I try to get her to pull the britches back up every time I see her.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jack. Well, anyway, I was so very lucky because I was with, for 2 or 3 years, Harry Driver, Jean Allen Ferguson, Clarice Revis. First time I ever saw Clarice Revis. The most beautiful, wonderful person. She was at Stewart's Lake in Raleigh with Jimmy Cavallo's band. She and Marilyn Smith.
Marilyn Hodges.
Yeah, Marilyn Hodges. Wren
Ren
Smith.
Smith.
And Bobby Wren was the drummer.
Oh, man.
He was about 15 years old. But anyway, they were playing at Stewart's Lake. And that's when I met Clarice. I think I was 16 probably. And that was in the winter, because I was at Carolina Beach in the summer, since I was very little. I stayed there with my aunt and uncle. I think my mother couldn't afford to feed me. We lived in Fuquay in the winter, mother and grandmother. But anyway, I lived with them, and he dropped me off from the beach in the morning, and then picked me up after work. So I had a wonderful life. And so
You had to
that's-
fend for yourself all day long.
Yeah, I did.
And it's still going on too.
We used to come to Myrtle Beach late in the night and go to that B&L place
Yeah.
and dance. This was, if we could find somebody that could drive or had a car,
Yeah, that's
we
good.
hit them and we said, it's just down the road.
That was a bad road.
And most of the time, those guys would leave us, you know, because we were girls, you know, we had nothing to do with them after we got here. And then we looked and the car was gone and the guy was gone. But anyway, I just knew them all. And I just love knowing y'all too.
Yeah, we connect through the years, don't we?
I could, well, do y'all have anybody say, when did you start dancing? I don't even know what to say, because I danced when I was 4 years old. You know?
Early Jennifer when I was 10.
Yeah. And I came up dancing. I did every kind of dance. I balleted, I tapped, I did everything, and really couldn't dance any of them. You know what I mean? I didn't have
Master of
You had
none.
rhythm.
You had rhythm.
Yeah, I thought I was doing it. Anyway, I don't know when to say, and I really don't know the date that it was called Shag, you know.
It was called, I have some pictures, some videos talking about it in the late 30s.
Really?
The black people are doing the Shag.
Yeah, then
Yeah,
they
my
call it,
s-
but we
call
did it a different way than they did it.
Yeah, but.
We smoothed ours out.
We smoothed ours out from the old jitterbug, but it's still like the word
They
Shag.
refer to it as the shag
Shag.
step, right?
JoJo still got that jitterbug in it, you ever noticed?
One of my
Oh.
sisters is about 85 now. She went to New York with the Big Apple group down there. My daddy about had a heart attack. But she and her husband, he was from Denmark, South Carolina. They won the state jitterbug contest, and so they sent them to the Big Apple, a real Big Apple in New York.
That was
And they won a contest up there in the 40s,
37.
like 41 or something.
1937.
It was about 40
And
when
Bum
they went.
Taylor, Bum Taylor.
Bum
went the
Taylor
same-
was a good friend of theirs. He went at
He
the
went
same
to the
time.
same group.
Same group. But, and my brother was tall and lanky. Vera met him. He could still dance, and he hadn't been around the Shag in ages. He just got out there and danced. I took him up to Harold's one night. Lord help, Vera had a ball.
There, you have it, Bob. Well, see, these are in the 30s you're talking about, so we were only about 10, well, like she's talking about in the 30s.
Yeah, I'm talking about my
Yeah.
brother, my sisters.
But I mean, we're only like 8 or 9, maybe 10 years later is when everything started happening with us down at Carolina Beach and on down.
Somebody used to come up and just say, would you like to dance? You know, they didn't say you want
Fast
Shag.
dance.
You want fast dance or
Fast
Shag?
dance.
Oh, fast dance.
I didn't hear the word shag until
Where did
way,
that come?
way on, I'm talking about, must have been in the
About the late
70s.
late
To this
70s
day,
when the
yeah.
first Shag first came back, when it started coming back.
Turned into Shag.
I
To this
remember
day, I
calling
have no
Shag.
idea
I thought
what
maybe
that is.
Al Bergen got a copyright on that word or something.
Let me interject
Where did
something.
it come
If
from?
you go back in history and you look at the Carolina coast, really from Virginia and the Outer Banks all the way down to Savannah
Uh-huh.
and that area, it was pirate country.
Yep.
I'm talking about early
Yep.
1500s, way back then. And the pirates had one philosophy of life. The Puritans on the coast, that is settling in 1620s, thereabout, had another area about it. Well, you know what the English call the shag.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know.
We understand that.
You and Joe.
Well, it was different from what the Puritans in the
New World.
pirates thought of. The pirates loved to party and they liked to dance. And they had this little triple step thing they did, and sometimes they'd hold hands and, you know, just rah, 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 you know how they're doing with the barrel of rum and whatever. But anyway, they were going around ad nauseum around the corner like this, and they called it the shag. And I think probably through the Carolinas, being a Puritan, you know, you don't dance if you shag, you don't dance. And I think that's where part of it came from. In the meantime, the dance was what the
Fast
farmers
dance
and the
or what is it
fishermen
called?
did. They got together and they did their sort of dancing.
Well, Eddie, we
As
used to
it
go to the
happened,
township
You gotta
auditorium.
understand,
Yeah.
I
In
hit
Columbia and dance up in the
the
aisles.
South. I hit the South in
That's what I mean.
1944. I was born in 32. I have to do one more thing about this jukebox situation. I worked at the 2-Minute Grill and the 8th Avenue Grill, and sometimes up to Mayflower, within 3 years that I worked the beach, 49, 50, and 51. And Jim came in to fix my records, and he'd always give them to me at the end of Labor Day, get it off the check. Well, there was one I was looking for, and it was For You, My Love by Larry Darnell. I was looking for it, couldn't find it. He got it off the Atlantic Beach jukebox, because he serviced all the jukeboxes from Wilmington all the way down to Georgetown. That was his area. And he did it from 45 until 1954 when Hazel hit. And I didn't realize till later that when I was talking to Bernie Harris, who worked at the Galleon and Fat Jack's, that was Harold and some of those other people, Bernie Harris, he worked with Mule Anderson, Leonard Anderson, up in your era, that was his son. Bernie was Jim's son, because he said, Jim Harris needs to be in Legends. And I asked him why. And then it dawned on me when he started talking, Jim was the one that I was working with the records. So these network things keep coming through the years, you know, the connection between our era and your era. But basically, in our era, we were Myrtle Beach, later to be OD. And it wasn't that neither one they were both coming up at the same time. I think Myrtle Beach was more developed at the time than OD was.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, women are all the ones that put the money in the jukeboxes too. Guys that have it right. To this day, I don't know the names of the song. When I hear them play it, I say, oh, I like that. But I never put a nickel in a jukebox in my entire
Well,
life.
the tourists
You
did.
never paid to get down here either. You
No.
know,
Yeah, didn't have any money. If you want to, you didn't have any money.
Most of the guys depend on house parties.
Yeah.
I've left Rock Hill
New
with a
girlfriend
dollar.
every week.
Came back 2 months later and still had a
Still
dollar.
have the girls fed you.
Hey, Janet, I did not know you were only 16. You could have got me in a whole lot of trouble.
I had a halo on my head.
I had my blanket ready to go to the beach.
You see, I was being protected when I didn't know I was being protected.
The saying in that time was, let's walk down the beach for a little bit.
Yeah, a bit.
I met my wife, 16 years old, right down there on that beach. We've been married 50 years this past September, so it does work around here.
Well, I guarantee Harry Driver never put anybody in a jukebox. Back then, used to play, throw money at it.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah,
And
honey.
there was a story going around about Harry, and I asked if it was true, so I heard it all around, and that over there at the pad one day, somebody bet him some money, that they'd pay him so much money if he could dance a whole song without doing the same step. And he won the bet. They sat there, he danced the entire song, other than the basic. He never did the same step.
Of course, back in those days, songs didn't last but a
They didn't
minute
last
and a
but
half.
Tell me about it
He'd be
now.
in trouble if it was.
Now they last 3 minutes.
They got fined if the music was any longer than 2 minutes and 50 seconds. They weren't allowed to do that, otherwise the companies would be fined.
You know, we're talking about the Shag, but this past weekend or weekend before last, we went to the Nationals. The juniors have really brought the dancer 2 or 3 levels higher. The steps they do now, none of us did. It's unreal.
But understand that good dancers married good dancers and then begot better dancers and then they got married.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It's-
the motivation in dancing has changed a little bit too. They're doing it for competitive stuff now. Back then, we did it to get the girls.
Yeah,
And if you're a good dancer, you got all the good-looking girls.
and the girls followed you, they didn't,
Yeah,
they didn't decide, try to leave. They
If
just-
you would have never thought you'd get one going off and practice for 5 hours. It would never occur to you.
Y'all keep talking about Myrtle Beach and Ocean Drive. When I was just a kid, I was old enough to appreciate or start to notice girls, but my family had taken me to the Myrtle Beach Pavilion one night. And we were in the pavilion playing machines and all that. Well, I catch this music playing, you know. I kind of follow it through the crowd. As I weave my way through the crowd, do you remember the area where the jukebox used to be in the Myrtle Beach Pavilion? I finally got where I could see what was going on, and all these jitterbugs were out there dancing. And then it didn't take me long after that that all of them had girls hanging on. I said, you know, I think I can learn how to do that. Absolutely. So I think that's where I really got interested in shagging, because I said, all these guys got girls hanging around them.
Where do y'all think the Shag, the fast dance, what do you think it originated from?
I don't think it
The
originated.
jitterbug?
I think it originated from the Lindy Hop.
It did.
It'll fall.
It came
It's
out
part
of
of it.
jitterbug.
It'll be look- It's just a fall from, that's what I
And
think.
there were no classes,
It was
you gotta
too hard
understand
on
back
the
in the early
pavilion
days, there were no
to do all
classes.
that
We taught
jitterbug.
each other, and
It's
we
kinda
had
slow
mutual
slowed it
admiration
up.
society going on.
And just like
There
black
wasn't
people,
any
You're gonna
competition.
get a different answer from
Competition.
everybody.
It was fun.
There's no doubt, there's no doubt.
And
What do you
everybody
think, Jack?
appreciated everybody's difference.
You just give us your outlook on it.
Well, in 1947, I started working at Carolina Beach. And Harry and Chicken Hicks told me, Harry knew some people, and Chicken Hicks talked about it. And during the World War, there were submarines operating off the Carolina coast, and nobody could go to Carolina Beach unless you lived there. I mean, they really checked and you
Had a
couldn't do it.
blackout.
And so they went to White Lake, and they went out to a black joint at White Lake, and they saw them doing a dance. And I talked to Harry, because Harry started working there at the same time I did. I'm 2 years older than Harry. And he said that they probably were doing the Lindy Hop. And they innovated the steps, we innovated the Applejack, and Sugarfoot,
Yeah, we do all that.
and the belly roll stop. That's what Harry was telling me now, the belly roll.
And the pivot, they had the pivot going too, at the same time.
I don't know about the pivot,
We
but
call it just a
The Big
turn.
Apple was up in New York, where but blacks win.
yeah.
They do
And-
that big turn.
We just call it
And,
the turn, not the pivot.
Shorty George came in out of the
Okay.
northern area, the swing, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jack.
I didn't know, I thought it was my turn, so I was gonna start. I'm Jack Ricker, by the way. Okay.
I don't know that we were going in any particular order. My name is Wanda, my maiden name is Walker, and Yao now. I was raised in the upstate in Lawrence, South Carolina, and my mother's youngest sister taught me to jitterbug out in the sand behind the old cabin we owned on Lake Greenwood. But you read a lot of those bios downstairs, and you hear about a lot of people going to Curry's Lake in Greyport, South Carolina. And it was just a place that had a pool that would be condemned now because it was not concrete. And they had bowling alleys that the blacks picked up the pins, and we had just, it was a jukebox, and it was, we all put money in the jukebox to dance with a wooden floor. We wore short shorts, and I hated when Bermudas came out. Thought that was the ugliest thing in the world. I always ran around with a crowd older than me, but my family, where I really started shagging was at Folly Beach. And my family always went down there for the summers. But when I was 14, you could get your license back then at 14.
Okay, I didn't recognize.
I would come to the beach with some girls that were 16, and I was always the DD. And we always, for some reason, stayed in Myrtle Beach, and we would dance at the jukebox at the Pavilion, and then we'd drive up here and dance to the pad. It's a 2-lane road. We'd dance to the pad and over
On
to the
Sundays.
Pavilion. And then we would go and stop at the Shrine Club. It had that big old oak tree on the side of it. We'd park there and go in there and dance, and then drive on back to Myrtle Beach, and it was a 2-lane road. And it was summertime, there was a lot of traffic on that 2-lane road though. I know a lot of y'all know Donna Reeves and Whitey Stevens. They used to come down here, and Johnny Behringer was just, well, I was a teenager and he was too, and I used to date a friend of his, Bruce Harrison, his dad on the liquor store in Myrtle Beach.
Sure did.
Did Johnny Behringer's daddy have a place down here?
Yeah, he had an open air market type place.
Yeah.
I
It
used
was
to get
open
pumpkins
in
from
the
him.
late 40s, but Johnny Barrett was like 7 years old when I was down there. And,
Well, we used to carry like a radio and go dance at a beach house on the ocean when nobody was staying. It'd be a patio back there, and we'd go back there and dance. And like I
Are you gonna
said,
tell us about all the boys you dated at the same time, or are we gonna go alphabetical, or? how you
I
gonna-
had, you know what, the thing about y'all talking about learning to dance so you could get the girls, I had a lot of friends, guy friends, that I was just a dancing date. I guess they had their real date after they took me home. But I moved to Columbia, South Carolina, and I think it was probably in around 63 or 64 that all that YTC and all that started coming out, and the shag kind of started fading into the background of us in Columbia then. But it was normally bands at the old Army, Navy, and
Yep,
some of the places down there that, the
American
OVA.
Legion.
But it was bands that played rather than having jukeboxes then. And they played a long time too. They weren't limited to 2 minutes and 50 seconds. I mean, if you got out there dancing with somebody that couldn't dance that well, you were dancing about 8 minutes trying to hang on. But I did come to the beach some from Columbia, but I got married when I was 21 to a man from Kentucky who, he didn't know shag from Shiola, so it kind of went on the back burner. And I think the disco is actually what brought the shag back in, because people started holding hands dancing again then.
That was in
And
the 70s.
I divorced in '78 and started, the shagging was really coming back in.
Tell
And
them
I
who you met down on the beach.
I was at a friend's house who I'd been giving shag lessons to, Billy Holiday, and was down here for a meeting, and he said, well, come a night early, I have a separate suite, you and your boss, who was a woman, could stay. And he said, I have a date, but he said, my cousin's coming over, and I think, you would enjoy him. Well, here comes Norman, and I met him in May, and Ann Huddle came over. And that's when I met Ann in 1980, and we all went to 2001 and danced that night. The rest is history. And Norman and I started competing. He shagged, but he did not know how to do the pivot and a lot of things. Some people think that he didn't shag, he did. But he was not a competition shagger, and that's when the competition had started.
He could have cared less, too.
But he started because, this is a funny story. At Bogey's in Florence, I went over there, we'd gone over there, he'd come up to Marion, and we went over there, and I danced with Newell Harley.
Oh, he was good.
Y'all all remember Newell? He was a
Yeah,
great
the best
dancer.
pivot in the
pivot
world.
He'd just pull you into a pivot before you, and Billy Wingate does the same thing, the same type pivot. But people clap when we got off the floor, but they would play about 15 minutes of shag music, and then they'd play something else. So we'd sit around waiting for our 15 minutes. And I could tell Norman was a little upset when he was taking me home, and I said, well, have I done anything? He said, no, but I danced with you. And he said, people expect me to look like Newell Harley does out there. And I said, well, let's just don't go out dancing anymore. Let's don't go shagging anymore if it's gonna bother you. And he said, he knew how much I loved it. So he agreed, or he didn't agree, he just said to himself right then, I'm gonna learn to dance and do steps and where people pay attention to me too. So he did, and we started competing later. And taught shag lessons in Columbia for about 10 years.
You taught my cousin how to dance, Elliot Wood.
Yeah. Sure
All right,
did.
Joanne.
My name is Joanne Johnson. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was born dancing. I won my first, I was danced when I was like 5 years old in a dance recital. And then I won my first jitterbug contest when I was 10 years old. And it's been that way since. I've never had a shag lesson in my life. And I've been down here. I started coming down here. Well, my first place to the beach was in 1949. 48, I went to Folly Beach. That was my first visit to the beach. To dance. I had been to the beach before, but not to dance. And then down here, 51, and then I came back in 54, because I had 2 children in between there. And came back in 54, and by then the hurricane had taken the pavilion down, and they had built a new one up, and we danced on the cement floor. We're talking about the short shorts. I had on a pair of short shorts one night, dancing, and I was dancing with my husband. He was the only one he let me dance with. And I was out dancing, and somebody said something about my legs, my pretty legs, and well, I knew it. He had this guy on the floor, and Maury stood with him.
It must have been Dick Webb said something about you.
I don't know, but
How many fights those legs caused?
I had them insured. Anyway, we danced a lot down at the Windy Hill Pavilion. And of course, we'd go to all these places down here, but I stood around and watched because I couldn't dance with anybody but him. But until I
told him to go on his way, and y'all know the rest of it, because I've been down here since.
I bet you when you were dating David Jordan.
No, we don't talk about that, those years.
Oh, this was a good year.
But he was a good
Those
dancer.
years when
Yeah,
y'all were down
it was a
here.
good dancer. And, I danced in many contests, and like he was talking about, Mary was talking about the contest over at Fat Jack's. I remember one night we had 32 contestants. And Bob Barnhill was good for not starting this until about 3 o'clock, about 10 o'clock in the morning. At 3:30 in the morning, we got through with our first round.
You had to reverse the order.
Yes.
Oh, you didn't know where it was night and day in that place.
No, I mean, from then on, I think we sort of made it, we had to be through by such and such a time, because everybody had to drive home and go to work next day. And,
One of the funny things about that shag contest stuff, I always kept score sheets. I'd take them home with me at night and everything, because Alberti would go looking for them. He wanted to change the grades on the people that he was teaching.
yeah.
He was a crook.
He gave me a
I
4
love
one
him,
time, and I
dude.
got so mad at him, I didn't know what to do. I said, what'd you give me a 4 for? He said, because that's what you got. I
He'd
said,
be all over this beach looking for me. I'd be down there selling something. I'd lock him up in the trunk of my car.
we had a dance contest up in, I believe it was High Point one time, and I gave this guy, I didn't let him win anyway. And, let's see, Shad was judging, I was judging, Mike Osborne was judging, and somebody else was judging. And we got through counting scores. This guy come up to me, and Shad left out of that door, and Mike Osborne left out of that door, and they wouldn't come back in. And he came up to me and says, how come you didn't let me win this contest? And I said, you didn't deserve to win the contest. I said, you tried to look like Charlie Womble. He said, I can do Charlie Womble. I said, excuse me.
Murray and I was doing a contest up in Greenville one time, judging one of the people that used to run 2001. He opened 2001 in Greenville. And Murray flew up. They went to Atlanta and back before they found Greenville. But anyway, private plane. But anyway, we made up our mind that Alberti was not going to win. He wanted that jukebox so bad, that jukebox.
Is that the one they had up at Red's that he threw?
Yeah, and he was not going to win. He went out there and I looked at Bird looked at me, no problem. We can't say no. He was just too good. The man could dance.
Well, he won. He did
We didn't
win
say
the
we wasn't
contest.
gonna win, but we wasn't gonna just vote for him because we shout at Bird.
We're going to vote against him because it's the truth be told.
But
But
he danced too good. You
but
can't
he's
make
so
it up.
good, it just blew us away. Just
Yeah.
forget it.
Well, I think I'm the only person that ever beat Shad. Me and David beat Shad in the contest.
Oh, well, I think she had like died.
Y'all won that
And
one over in
O'Reilly.
Columbia one time too.
Yeah, me and Jack Smith won that one.
Yeah.
So when Bill Hall put up.
Yeah. I was a judge on
when
that
was
one too.
that was a draw contest. I drew Jack Smith, and David drew
Cadillac?
and David drew Cadillac's wife.
Yeah.
They came in second. We came in first, and they came in second.
Could I tell about a dance contest? I never won anything. Well, anyway, my mother was telling me, I was telling Mother about my dancing, and she said, yeah, I know all about your dancing. I said, well, I won a dance contest at Memorial Auditorium with Mike, what's his name? Mitchell Duke. And I think it was in 48. But anyway, she said, Mimi, I don't think so. I said, well, maybe I dreamed it. Maybe I dreamed it. Well, 7 years ago, my girlfriend in Andrew, Shelby Harmon, I believe it is now, she called me and said, I want you and Phil, your husband, to come dance at my wedding. I said, really? She said, yeah. I said, okay, we'll go. And so she was telling people, Mimi's coming to dance at my wedding. But she thinks I'm a real good dancer living down here. And so we went, and there was a guy there when she said Mimi's coming. He said, is her name Mimi Stacy? She said, yeah. He said, oh, she and I want to dance at the Memorial Auditorium in Raleigh.
You didn't dream it, did you?
I said, I didn't dream it. I didn't dream it.
You did
Anyway,
win one.
that's the only thing I ever won, y'all.
You know,
There's
back
been
in
so
the
many
older days, there were
contests.
no competitive dancers.
Uh-uh.
But I can remember the first year that the so-called new pavilion that they just tore down, it was built in in the winter of 49 and 50, it was, running fast.
You know, with Travolta pants on and all that. And he was sitting there in the corner, had 2 or 3 people over there, and he was showing them. He said, "Come on here, Gene." He said, "Let me show you this step." I said, "In these shoes?" He said, "Get rid of those things, would you?" But he would never quit.
But Shad always thought it.
Tell them about Greenville, South Carolina, when Shad went in the Hall of Fame. We all tried
Bless his
all
heart.
the
We,
time.
I love, everybody's got their own style. I mean, you can put 20 couples out there, you'd have 40 different styles of dance with no problem. I hope that the dance that we've enjoyed so much over the years doesn't come back to haunt these kids that are dancing now, because they've got a lot going for them. I just hope they give them the same memories that we gained from it, because we had one big blast. But Shad, when he did his induction dance, and I got the film to prove it, bless his heart, he got off on the wrong beat, and he stayed off on the wrong beat. The whole record,
Oh, I've
all the
seen
way
him do it
through.
more times than
He did his steps automatically. They came in.
It's on tape, buddy.
And he and I went into the Hall of Fame at the same time, '86. But he got off on that wrong foot. And I said, "You're going to get back on, you're going to get back." He never did the whole song. He danced his entire induction on the wrong foot, or wrong beat.
Ask or say, this may get cut. We, as a whole, we know what we're talking about, where we grew up in this and what it feels like. These young kids today, they don't feel what we feel, and they want to change the music, and they want to change the style, and two of our bylaws say we are preserving the dance and we are preserving the music.
You're right, Joanne.
But they're not getting preserved. Neither one of them are. They want this top 40 hip-hop music, and they want to incorporate the swing, which is swing is, I love
Not
swing.
shag.
But it's not shagging.
Shag.
You're right.
But
And-
shag is a type of swing.
I know it is.
No, but
Yes,
it's not the
Swing is
swing,
the umbrella,
Janet.
but
Yeah.
shag, shag is the top.
Can't
But,
swing on her diamond.
but if they're gonna preserve this, why not do it like we've always done it, and why not keep this music?
I think you're too late, Joe.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
they
took
gonna
it
do
I
too
wish
late.
they weren't though, but I think so.
We did
Send
what
that
we
off.
want, they're gonna do what they
They're
want.
gonna do it their way. You can't tell them.
It's almost a
We'll
swag.
never say it's the same.
Right.
There's some good young dancers.
Only
but
one.
They don't do it exactly like we did. but they-
Did y'all hear what they call it? The swag,
Swag.
between the swing.
Well, if
I
I'm
ain't heard it,
judging-
where have I been?
If I'm judging, it better be the shag.
It's
Well,
always
Barrett-
evolved.
Barrett won't let them
I
do
cut
swing.
off.
in
Well, that's why I like the
nationals.
masters. Anytime you go to any of the nationals, the masters is it.
Well, they
Because-
can't say then that they're doing what we used to do.
I know
Yeah,
it.
they're not doing
It has always evolved, and it will continue to evolve, but we know our era and what we contributed toward that era,
We
and
were,
that's important.
we were over at Pavilion, last summer, and, a bunch of people in there, and this black couple came in. And they watched us over there doing the shag and everything, just having a good time. And they got out there, and they were doing, I looked at Murray, I said, "We come full circle." We picked it up from them, and they got it back. Then next thing, had 2 or 3 couples coming there.
Charlie who?
Charlie's Place.
Charlie's Place? Oh, you mean the Black Club?
Yeah.
Well, there was a black club in Myrtle Beach called Charlie's Place that, and I only went there one time because, kind of fear for my life in those days.
Turbeville watched over me.
Yeah, well, but it was exciting. It was an era that we didn't know what we were into. But adding one more thing to the whole dance thing itself, if they ever write my story or about us at any respect, you can tell them that I walked with some of the giants of this shag world, and they call it the shag now and jitterbug before. But I was there with them, and I wouldn't trade memories with these young kids, with all the people and friends that I've made over the years, for anything in the world. Because we made a bond that's lasted for 60 years. And Betty Catron, I could go on and on. But Clayton McManaway, you don't have half the population now to really get a bird's eye view of everybody, or a cross-section view, because there's so many more stories out there that that could add to this, but it's just our personal stories.
Well, this music has lasted for 60-something years.
Oh yeah, because we've been with it for 60-some years. But the Clarices and the Marilyns and the Harry Drivers and the Charlie Boones, everybody added something to it. And the Vicky Shadans and all that. Well, Buddy Kennedy, true. But with this input that everybody has made to our dance, everyone has added a love to it. And it's a part of our extended family. I mean, I go back home and I got my grandkids and I love them and everything else. But if somebody gets hurt here or dies, a piece of my heart goes with them. And we've lost a lot of our friends and they're picking us off one at a time. But I'll never forget all the friends we've had and the good times we've had over the years.
Do you think the younger generation feels like we do?
I'm not sure. They won't know for 50 more years, I don't believe.
I think they do.
I think some of them, the ones that are in their 30s now,
Well,
that started
they
as junior
grew up
shaggers.
with their parents. in
The first
years.
couple years of them, but after that, I don't.
I think the Michael Norrises and the
Yeah,
people
that's
right now,
right.
they got that little group, and they're a little clannish also, when they get
Gracie
together,
Smith.
Sam West and all them, they'll carry that on for another 20 or 30 years. I think they're tight.
Yeah, but it's all changing and progressing.
I'm
It ain't
sure.
Nothing like it was when it started.
Well, you and I could walk into a dance hall, we could walk into a dance hall and pick the prettiest girl in the whole room and know that for 3 minutes, she can be in our arms. Am I right? Am I not right? And that's because you could do the shag or do the dance.
But you think about dancing the 60-minute man.
Yeah.
Say, 60-minute
All
man.
about drinking wine.
And nobody would dance that slow anymore to save your neck. That's what we all used to dance to that speed.
Yep.
I can remember
Man.
bringing the record home, 60-Minute Man, to my mom.
Oh, I
And
couldn't
she
bring it home.
listened to the words and her eyes got real big. And she wisely never said anything to me because it wasn't the words that were getting in our head, it was the beat. We were dancing to the music.
We had to
And
get down.
I know it was years later until I really, at one point, sat down, was really listening to 60-Minute Man and what it meant.
Yeah.
You know, that because it was over my head.
Y'all remember my ding-a-ling?
Oh, yeah.
The
And
sheriff
Kristye.
came to Sonny's place and made me and Sonny take my ding-a-ling off the piccolo.
That originally came off Atlantic Beach, and then they got to playing it as a piano player at Kristye's, which is a place
Yeah, yeah.
they used to go in there and they played
Oh, I used to go there all the
Binding
time.
On. And they had the benign version, and then a little bit later on at night, they play the other version.
Well, I played Drinking Wine Spuddy at a little place down on Trade Street at home, where the railroad, you remember where Trade Street went down?
Yeah.
Yeah, with
There
railroad
was
stations.
a little place in there that had two record players, and we played Drinking Wine Spuddy 80 and 60-Minute Man because it was race music. We couldn't bring it on and play it.
Well, keep in mind back then, when you're talking in the 40s, you're talking KKK, you're talking bad signs that says white and colored.
Yeah, in Crescent, you could.
And we were into the black music,
Yeah.
which could be played on, you could hear country music and you could hear top 40, but you'd have to get under the covers and listen to Gallatin, Tennessee before you get
Yeah, it is
to
like-
playing at
I
the
was
beats.
watching television one night and Bessie Smith came on. This was on, I don't know what program, they had Black Entertainment, and they had Bessie Smith on. And she was playing in Concord, North Carolina. And about that time, here comes the Ku Klux Klan. And she got out there and ran them off. She told them to leave. She was not bothering anyone. She was having she was singing, but it was in Concord.
My first record was, I Want My Fanny Brown. by
Oh, I
Ruth-
loved it.
By Ruth
I love my
Brown.
Ruth Brown.
And this girl gave it to me. Now, if you played Arena, and that's where I grew up, I would be kicked out of town if they knew I had that record and played it over and over and over again. And my sweet grandmother never fussed at me about anything, but this one thing, and it wasn't a fuss, she said, "Maybe that's not a very nice song." I said, "Grandmother, it is. We've got an aunt named Fanny. They're just looking for her name, Fanny Brown." And I meant it. I
You
really
were
did.
bad.
Again,
No,
it's
I
over
mean
the
it. I
head,
thought
the
over the
innocence, the innocence.
I
The
think
grandmother
that's
said,
what
"Okay."
years ago.
I can remember, and I'm sure the people from Charlotte can, even, in the 60s at Old Park Center, when they had rock and roll shows at Park Center, one week or one show, whites would be on the floor, blacks would be sitting. Next time,
Most said it was the other
it'd
way,
be
the
the other
blacks
way
were
around.
dancing and the whites were watching.
That's right.
That's when Nellie let you find Brown
I
Brown.
want to interrupt because y'all can edit me out here.
It's your turn.
I want
Jack.
to hear some stories
From
from Barbara
Jack.
and Jack.
Yeah.
Barbara has mentioned to me the old warehouse dances
Mullins.
with the blacks on one side and the whites
Yeah.
on the other, and I would like to hear some of that.
The tobacco warehouse.
There were maybe 5 on one side.
Right.
That's it, that was about it.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I'm Barbara Rickard, I'm married to Jack. We've been married 52 years, and some of you may know we were born in the same town and never knew each other. Would you like to guess where we met? Myrtle Beach, of course. And Jack's the one with the stories, but we did have some dances in warehouses, and we had groups like the Charms, the Clovers, Bats Domino, Roy Hamilton, maybe the Drifters. And
Big Joe McNeely,
Yeah.
the Penguins.
needless to say, my parents were not told where I was, still haven't told me. And it was probably not a good thing to do, but we did go, and it was great. It was wonderful. We loved it. And I'll let Jack tell the stories.
Well, I drank muddy water and slept in a hollow log. And I met Barbara out behind the barn, and I didn't do any harm. I just told her to bring her shagging shoes. And I'm Jack Rickard. I was born in rural Winston-Salem, and I hitchhiked the beach because a boy from Fayetteville wanted me to go down there with him. And I was supposed to go home and play baseball in a couple of weeks, but I didn't. Little girl said she thought she could teach me to dance, and that's the only lesson I've ever had, really, except Susie Beaver said I was dancing on the girl's foot. She wanted me to learn to dance on the boy's foot. So I did, but
That was at Carolina Beach.
I loved it. I just fell in love with it, and I met Harry Driver down there. He started working down there at the same time I did, Chicken Hicks. I didn't know he drank till I saw him sober. I got a lot of things I could talk about. I don't have that much time. One of my favorite dancers at Carolina Beach was, probably y'all never heard of, Big Lois Byram.
Oh, yeah.
And
Big red.
Big Red.
And Louise Walden, I danced with her son.
Unsudden
Louise Hunsler.
Hunsler.
Yeah.
Well, her name was Walden.
at the time.
And Rick Walden, at her funeral, he didn't know me, but I got acquainted with him. He said that Louise Walden and Tinker Kennedy won a jitterbug contest in High Point in 1946.
Yeah.
And I don't know when the dance started. I have no idea. But I know I learned it in 1947.
We just
And-
learned jitterbug, like we all did.
Yeah.
Slowly evolved.
Fast dance.
Fast dance.
And Harry, the reason I tell you, Harry danced in the daytime at Carolina Beach because he called bingo at night. And that's when I met Chick Hedrick. He was the first person I met at Carolina Beach. And he was calling bingo. And I've known him for a long time. Of course, I saw Chick. I thought it was Chick in Cagney's old place. I don't know how long ago it's been. It'd been about 35 years since I'd seen Harry or Chick. In fact, I forgot their names till I know y'all know a boy named Billy Holiday. I made friends with him, and he said you dance kind of like the boy that comes in here that was from Carolina Beach. Where are you from? And I said, who was it? He said, Harry Driver. And I said, no, I can't dance that good. And he said, but he hangs around in here. And I told him I knew him. I said, he hangs around in here. And I got to know him all over again. And I saw this guy that had a big mole on his head like Chick used to have. And I walked up to him and I said, Chick Hedrick, are you Chick Hedrick? He said, no, I'm not Chick Hedrick. But this boy right up Chick said, I'm Chick Hedrick. So I got acquainted with him. And Harry told me about Shag Attack, wanted to get me on his list and our time. So that's when I started. First time I danced down here was at Fat Jack's in 1978, and I recognized a girl. I thought I knew her, and I asked her to dance, and I danced with her, and she was Millie Edwards.
Yep.
Billy Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
And we knew
Went
each
to
other.
school.
We knew each other from high school. I don't know what else I
They used
got.
to mix her and me up when I was little, young.
Oh, well, Tinker Candy worked at Carolina Beach too, same time Mimi and I did. And Mimi was, of course, I worked at a hamburger, French fry place, and that's how I got the sandwiches.
I never told your boss about it.
Oh, Burt Murray, you mentioned him. He's in the movies now,
Yeah.
or he was. I knew him. God, I want to tell you a story, just one story, and I'll stop. And when I learned to dance, I had met a boy named, the one that wore his collar.
Which one?
Charlie Daniel.
No.
Marty Webb.
Dino, you talking about? Dino Thompson?
What's his name, boy?
Dino Thompson,
He
Artie
wears
Webb.
his collar.
Shirley's married to her. Shirley.
Bunk Leach.
Bunk
Bunk
Leach.
I still do.
I can't ever think of his name. I've known him for 100 years. But anyway, I lived out in the country about 25 miles from Greensboro if you go through the woods. And I walked to Greensboro if I couldn't get a ride with anyone. And I danced against Bunk Leach. And we were the only two up there, I guess, that could dance. I don't know. But they're the only ones that crowd around you, you know, and say, well, it's your turn. They want to see you dance now. What do you call it?
Take the floor.
Yeah, take the floor. Yeah, you take the floor. And that was fun. And
As long as they didn't throw nickels at you.
I just
you
fell
weren't
in
there.
love with it.
And then Jack has told me about how they dance barefoot.
Oh, yeah.
At Carolina Beach on the cement floor.
Yeah, we
And
danced barefooted.
He swears they can put cigarette butts out with their bare feet.
You remember
Yeah.
Betty
Danced
Greer
till I
used
had
to dance
blisters.
barefoot and she had this wide adhesive tape around the balls of her feet. Just
I don't
when they
know.
dance on
I
wood
don't know.
Oh,
floor.
we danced, we just danced. We went out and they talk about who paid for the dances. The tourists paid for our dances.
Everybody.
They'd say, y'all dance some more. And we say, well, put the money in the jukebox and we'll dance some more.
You know, Ann, we can't remember when Cagney's opened, like about what?
I was there, 1975.
Yeah, and people don't realize the Ocean Forest, which was like
It was
these
still
places
there.
in the forties and
They
fifties.
just tore it down right before that.
When they tore it down, some of the garbage got put in the parking lot of where Cagney's is now. And they took some of the artifacts from the hotel that are in Cagney's.
Well, he
to
went
this
over there
day.
and bought them, because I went over there,
Yeah.
I was over there the same day.
They had an auction and a lot of that got.
You could
put
get
into
those
Cagney's.
Adirondack chairs for $5.
That was back.
And I didn't know anybody that had a truck to bring them damn home.
That was
That was
a
back in
beautiful,
1975.
beautiful. But anyway, about the Ocean Forest, you get people at Ocean Forest like Lena Horne. People, big name people
Yeah, but who
and
could
big
afford to
name.
go up there?
And they
But you
didn't
had to
have
wear
any place
a
to
skirt
stay.
too, you couldn't wear pants.
Couldn't wear pants.
And that's where Charlie's place came in, because Charlie was run by a black man named Lucius Drucker. You remember him?
Yeah.
But he had a manager that he made everyone think that this other guy was who he was, Lucius. Lucius kept a gun under the thing all the time, but he kept a low profile, and he made sure that those big name people had a place to stay that was decent. And, you know, Atlantic Beach at that
All the
time
Jennings had guns
was
too.
called the Black Pearl. And that's where a lot of the good music originated from. I remember Pink Champagne coming out of there. And some of the other songs that we dance to this day came out of there. Winona Harris, Good Rockin' Tonight, and all of that.
That's the one I mentioned.
Certainly.
Berkeley, you mentioned something. Would you mention something about a pea farm at Carolina Beach or something where you went, where they sent you or something? Anyway, I'll tell you this story. I was working for Patterson French Fries, and this ABC man kept coming up there and wanted to know where I kept the liquor that I sell. And he wanted to know where I sell the bootleg liquor, and I didn't know anything about bootleg liquor. I didn't even know you could bootleg liquor then. And finally, I told my boss about it. He said, next time he comes up here bothering you, I want to know about it. And so he came up there one night, and my boss he was tough. He was big. He's long arm. I said, he's here. He walked over there and grabbed him. And anyway, in essence, he told him if he came up there bothering me anymore, he was going to do something to him. I don't want to mention that because they'll bleep it. And about in late 1950, when I left, I was getting ready to leave the beach, as a matter of fact. And I knew the police real good, and they knew me. But anyway, I guess he turned them against me, and they arrested me. And in essence, the story, they sent me out to the pea farm, and for 30 days. And I dug the sewage creeks out. And I didn't know that all you had to do was say, I got a lawyer. Because, you know, they told me I was looking for somebody with a blackjack and a switchblade, and I didn't even own either one of them, never had one. And the guy's name was Booster McGuire, and I don't know whether any of y'all know him or not, but I wouldn't have been looking for him anyway, with anything. I wouldn't have been looking with him with a gun. And anyway, he went out there at the same time I did, and we had a ball out there.
Digging ditches.
Oh, Lord.
Carol, when did you wind up down here at the beach? You never left once you came, did you?
No. Well, I was born and raised in Statesville, North Carolina, and I used to come down with my family in the summers, and then when I got into high school, we used to come down on house parties, and we'd go to Sonny's Pavilion most of the time. Sometimes we'd come up to the OD Pavilion, but when I was in college, I came down here and worked one summer at the toggery shop. And I lived in a house just a few streets down from the pad with a bunch of girls that worked at various places. And that's where I met Jim. Used to go in the pad sometimes. And I went back home, finished college, and I came down here in 1968, the day after I graduated from college. And I've been here ever since. I taught school for 34 years. And I met Murray and Suntan during that time. And remember when we used to go in the wintertime, there wasn't much place to go. We'd go to the Spanish Galleon, and remember when the Holiday Inn opened, we'd go down there.
Yeah, that was
Everybody's
amazing.
north.
Yeah, we'd go down there. And I just love it here. I met Wanda and Joanne over at Harold's when he moved in where the old barrel was, and used to love to watch them dance. I still love to dance. Yeah.
I just remembered from the old days, I started working down at the beach. I graduated from Central High School in Charlotte in 1949, and 2 weeks later I turned 16, so I was 15 years old then, and that's when we first started at the beach. But in 1950, the chief of police decided that everyone should be fingerprinted at the beach.
Bellamy?
It was Hoyt Bellamy
Bellamy, yeah.
was chief of police at Myrtle Beach, and his niece, or was it Melvin Bellamy?
Merlin.
Merlin Bellamy was in OD. So there was a lot of big boy networks going around the area, and everybody knew everybody else networked. So you better not, you know, they tell each other who was the ones that got in trouble and watch out for them. So you had like JoJo had a little mark over his head when he came into the place automatically. But certain people they looked for.
With the little red hat with us.
Yeah, with his
Safety pin in front.
Speaking of Merlin, if you were a lifeguard or worked down here, you kind of had to end because they never would actually lock you up. you'd have to go watch fire trucks and
Yeah,
police cars.
that's what I mean, like Charlie Lookerville was doing the garbage
If you got
truck.
hungry, you'd leave a note, Merlin be back, I'm gonna get a hamburger. And then you'd show back up, finish watching the police cars and stuff.
I never
Yeah.
had that problem. Yeah, you don't really got a lot of friends. Just the guys.
I watched a bunch of police cars.
They don't still do that?
It's better to be their friend than their enemy.
School was
While Bill had the bicycle place, he washed cars down there too. And that was in the 80s.
I know my mother came down here one time and she had rented a place at the Hobeka, and Myrtle Beach was right down from where the Bowery is, on the corner. It was like a foods place, and upstairs they had apartments. And she'd come and she went down to the beach with my two little sisters, and she always had like a cooler with Cokes in it, and she'd bring bread and peanut butter jelly
Oh, she must have been wealthy.
for the kids. And so I'd come down, you know, and see her, and she'd say, Janet, I'd introduce her to all these people, and they're all dancers. And she loved teenagers anyway, but she'd say, Janet, when she'd get me to the side, she says, to be such a sweet, quiet child, she says, how do you know so many reprobates? Because she could, you know, being an older woman, she could tell some of the guys that were down there. But you gotta say, some of those guys, like Ronnie Treadway, that give you an idea, he never so much as said damn around me.
They were always
That's
nice.
not when he wasn't around me, but it's that kind of a thing that happened. We were on a pedestal. You were either up on the pedestal or the other kind, and we didn't know about the other.
Well, see, I never danced with the ones that I thought were bad, because I thought you got bad if you danced with them. And I just didn't dance with them.
Well,
And they'd ask-
you did.
I didn't, I just wouldn't dance
No,
with
I
them.
mean, you did get bad if you danced.
Well, I wasn't about to dance with them.
You know, you had Francis Lee, you had Lil Bert.
Oh, I wouldn't have danced with Francis Lee, I wouldn't have even spoken to him in those days.
All them from Charleston would come up. And you get down to Spivey's, you always went to
y'all
Spivey's,
getting back
so
in
like
my
that,
day.
it was a late night place. So you go to the Pavilion and dance, and then you go to Spivey's.
Yeah.
And they used to talk about fights at Spivey's
They
in the
had
early
some.
days. But I remember being down there one time when there was a fight, and that was when Charlie Porter was there. And Charlie, who was a good fighter, he had this sort of thing that you knew when he took his glasses down and put it in his pocket, something was about to happen. And some of the guys knew that. Well, typically what happened was when the Tabor City boys came in, which were the redneck.
Anybody from out of town came in.
Bill
they would
Stevens.
dance.
Razor City is right.
Razor
Yeah.
City, they always.
Bobby
come
McQueen,
in
all of
nice.
that other
We got
group.
a scar right here.
Was Bobby always looked GQ, he didn't want to get messed up.
JoJo with his knife.
J. Joe with his knife, and you get the Myrtle Beach Air Force boys with their spandex bathing suits and socks and shoes, looking for the girls, you know, and they're all from Boston and New York and wherever. And then the Jitterbugs. Well, the Jitterbugs were the cool cats. They had the ducktails and the drapes and smooth, and they could dance, and they had all the girls, and that automatically was a problem right there. And when Maurice and Ronnie got in there, you know, that was just mixing oil and water with it. And I can remember this one time when Joan Mabry was with me and Betty Ziegler was down there, and a lot of the Charlotte girls. It was Weezy Rogers and Betty Malden and Dottie Hunt and all that group were down there. And I can remember Spivey's had just a wood pavilion and had a crossbar on either side on there. And all of a sudden there was sound of a stirring. And I had gone up to get a Coke, and one of the Air Force boys came up to me and was talking to me, and all of a sudden he said, well, good to talk to you, and I'll turn around, Ronnie Treadway standing right back. A few other things happened, and all of a sudden, Ronnie grabs me.
Ronnie was bad though.
Ronnie grabs me by the waist, I'm 90 pounds at the time, sits me up on one of those crossbars. Turbeville took Joan Mabry, took her up, put her on the other one, and all of a sudden, I saw Maurice go down like this. Ronnie hit somebody. Charlie started, Ronnie did it. It went over Maurice's back and over the rail into the sand. So it's like a production line. And of course, the manager starts calling the police, and all of a sudden they're grabbing us down. Let's get out of here. And I'm going, and we're saying, what? We were dancing. It happened that fast.
Well, have y'all seen the picture of spiders that they have reproduction and it's from the beach? You
Yeah,
know,
I got
when she, well, who in the hell ever saw it from, excuse me?
We
Who
never
ever
saw
saw it from the beach? We went up that dance all the time, I never saw it from the ocean.
I know,
And I saw
that-
it from the old parking lot.
Somebody asked me about that. That was Joan Mabry's picture. She had gotten it. She gave it to me to give to Bo Browne for that picture, for the
Yeah.
book, the shag, and that's how that picture got in there.
Y'all keep talking about Ronnie Treadway, 'cause Ronnie's a lot older than me, but Ronnie Treadway
He was bad.
sure took care of me a bunch of times. in my
He wanted to be his
younger
friend,
days.
not his enemy.
Guarantee you.
Well, I-
Did y'all remember a guy named,
I was telling a story a while ago.
Tell him your name, wait a minute, Berkeley.
My name's Berkeley Altman. People on the beach call me Bert because they couldn't say Berkeley. You know, people, there ain't very few people in South Carolina can even read. But
He had a name, everybody had a nickname back then.
does anybody here remember the WPA?
Yeah, I heard my mom and dad talk about it.
Okay.
I did, honest to God, I heard.
Well, the WPA is working along the side of the road, and I'm walking down the street, and I had on my sister's sweater. She swore if I did anything to that sweater, she was gonna kill me. Well, Ronnie Treadway was playing ball, and he threw the ball to me, and then came over and tore my sweater. Well, I got it on. So they had a brother named Bill. So Ronnie and Bill and I fought for half an hour, and I whipped both of them bad at it. And Maurice, y'all call Maurice, we call him Poochie, because he's so small, picked up a brick and hit me right between the eyes, and I still have the scar from it right there. But I raised, you know, the Treadways and Turk, y'all talking about, that's way back in my day when you start talking about those people.
Yeah.
But I predate you guys. I worked on the boardwalk at Snow's Restaurant in Myrtle Beach in 1943. And in 1944, 1945, we worked around the beach there, but wanted to get the dance back down to Ocean Drive. And a guy named David Pope opened a place where the pad is now and called it Pope Place. And Jimmy Cavello and his orchestra played there, and that's where the crowd hang out. And I went down to Pavilion one day, and there's 3 young guys there, and they were trying to dance out there on Robert's Pavilion. And I went out there and showed them a couple of steps. And I asked somebody, I said, who are those guys? Well, I said, well, that one is Harry Driver, and that one is Leon Williams, and that other one is Burt Bennett.
You know, somebody that y'all left out talking about is Don Reed.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the first person I ever met when I came to the beach, when I was a teenager, was Don Reed.
Well, go and finish.
But in those days, you couldn't get 6 shagging couples together in one place to save your neck. And you know, when we danced all over the place. And I called it, when I finally saw some dancing, I called it Charlotte Squeak Step, because everybody danced in one little place like that. And told Charlie Womble one day, I said, you people don't know nothing about shag. I said, you go from here to over there to over here and over there. And because there wasn't no big crowds, you know, so I guess the squeak step and the shag was learned because of the crowd.
Well, if you
But in the
notice when-
40s,
when
you couldn't get 8.
Well, when you go in, you always turn and you came back out when you get in.
Yeah,
Turn.
you're
Yeah,
right.
and you did a
You
big
went around
turn.
the circle.
You did.
They don't-
Yeah. Bill Barber still calls me his favorite circle dancer. So when he dances,
But
he
in Mullins-
makes sure I'm on the boards here.
Yeah.
Keeps
But
me
in
straight.
Mullins was a shagging town. I mean, it was a fast dancing town, we called it. And we had tobacco festivals there.
Yeah.
And the tobacco festival, the people came everywhere to dance to big bands. Johnny Long and some of the real big bands came. Had a Butch's place out at a little hamburger place where everybody went to dance, and people would come from everywhere to dance there. And we had a teen canteen,
Boy.
and people, you know, pictures on the wall, people in zoot suits, we call them. People say we call hepcat.
Yeah. They go,
If you win this scene, you a hepcat, you know.
Yeah.
they would go with Paisley to the Watermelon Festival too, and you could get some dancing done there
Yeah,
and have some fun.
but we tried to move the beach, you know,
Close enough.
we tried to move the beach down to Ocean Drive. And I'm gonna tell you, it finally worked. I taught Sonny in the building his little pavilion out there, his little dance floor. And when I left the beach in 50, that place was full of dancers.
When I used to come here in high school, we'd walk down to Sonny's Pavilion, and that's the first place I ever saw Donnie Christenberry dance.